Hey, welcome to the teachings of the Black Acting Method Studio. My name is Sharrell D. Luckett, and I'm excited that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about the Luckett Paradigm or the Luckett Paradigm. So let me tell y'all, my last name, coming up, it was Luckett, and I still go by Luckett. So you can say the Luckett Paradigm, but I started to do the real pronunciation of the name because the E was dropped. So the name is really, I think it has French origins, pretty positive. So it's really pronounced Luckett. And so that's why I say the Luckett paradigm or the Luckett paradigm, but I'm going to go with Luckett today. So the Luckett paradigm is a Black acting method. That means that it's an acting methodology that is informed by Black American culture, sensibilities, aesthetics, all that good stuff. So the Luckett paradigm, you can find a pretty good, concise chunk definition on blackactingmethods.com under the training tab. If you scroll to the bottom, it talks about the Luckett paradigm. But basically, the Luckett paradigm is where practice and theory, okay, are guided by four overlapping, intersecting dimensions. All right, so they're intersecting, they're overlapping. So that means they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but I've separated them for a certain reason because they can be separated at times. Those four overlapping, intersecting dimensions are core creation, orientation, resuscitation, and dialogic devising. And I put dialogic on there to remind you that when you're devising, you're actually in conversation with community, self and other. I am you, you are me, we are one. Okay, I'm accountable to you, you're accountable to me. So a way to remember that acronym, core creation, orientation, resuscitation, dialogic devising, though it doesn't, when you're training, it doesn't necessarily go in that order. That's how you can remember them because it spells cord. Staying plugged in to the source is a way you can remember it. So if you want to stay plugged in, you got to plug the cord in. That C is core creation, O is orientation, R is resuscitation, D is dialogic devising. So let's get into it a little bit. And this is like a drive-by, okay? Don't be watching this video and feel like you got it after this. You don't. You gotta come train. But it's a good introduction. It's a drive-by. So core creation. Core creation is talking about the core. You hear me talk about the hyperego. So everybody needs to be built up and feel positively about themselves. But especially when you're talking about Black actors, because of the things they experience, all of the racism, the prejudices, the setbacks in life, because of what I like to call white savagery, because of classism, because of racism, because of sexism, because of all of it, they need some extra boosting, okay? And so core creation is when you're working on acting, you're doing a lot of exercises to build the self, to build the core, which is the self, or somebody might call the seat of the soul or the soul. But what is that that's in you that emanates outward? If you feel good about yourself, you know how it feels when you feel good about yourself, you feel like you can do anything. So we want actors to first feel good about themselves before they try to come out of themselves and step into another character. So core creation is all about building the core of an actor. And if you're wondering about exercises and you're thinking about, is this building the core? Yeah, it is. If it's something positive, if you come up with an activity that's positive, that's self-affirming, that's not negative, that makes people think of themselves great emotionally, emotional intelligence, great spiritually as well, great physically, a person who is excited and feeling good about being fat, a person who is feeling good about all of their freckles on their face. That's core creation, building that core, because a lot of times people talk about the Luckett paradigm or other acting methodologies in the field of Black acting methods, and they like to make it so unique that I think they lose um, it's a methodology. So you can create. They're not. Well, that's not true. There are specific activities that I have that go in core creation, but you can also create core creation activities, right? if there might be an activity you already have that does exactly what I just described, like supports the actor, if that is true, and if it's making that actor feel like they can do anything, that can be dropped in the co-creation bucket. That's what I'm trying to say. So you don't have to feel like your hands are tied, or wait for somebody to give you an activity to help somebody with co-creation. The second one, orientation, which I'm still working on articulating, is I'm really interested in Black actors' orientation to specifically vocabulary and orientation to the field. And what I mean by that is, so think about many Black actors report that they have experienced racism in acting studios in their classrooms. They hate it. Their peers are mean to them because of racism or genderism or sexism or what have you, right? Um, but then we turn around as acting teachers and we do trust exercises, and you ask Black actors to be present when they are, what I always say, they're Black actors are super present. We trying to make sure you ain't about to beat us upside the head. I'm being serious, you know what I mean? Or we're trying to make sure don't nothing crazy come out your mouth while I'm trying to do this scene with you. So we're actually hyper present or super present or uber present when we're in the rehearsal hall or the studio space. So what is our orientation to trust, to process, um, to those words that we use all of the time? So I think about it as orientation to vocabulary and orientation to the field in general. How are we orienting ourselves to a field that was built on racism? That is the truth about, especially in America, with musical theater being the one thing that America came up with, but that's rooted in minstrelsy, vaudeville, racism. So, what's our orientation to the field? And if we reorient ourselves, how can we use that to be better performers? So, what are you actually asking Black actors to do when you say trust me? And is trust the better word if you are a descendant of the oppressor? Is that the word you should be using, or is it something else you should be using? And if you're a descendant of the enslaved, how do you gain that trust? And how are Black actors thinking about trust and commitment and truth? We always ask actors to get to the truth. It's always fascinating to me that descendants of many folks who are liars are always asking somebody to be truthful in rehearsal and in the artistic process. I'm I'm bringing my truth, or you bringing your truth, right? So how, and so you can't get into the room or get into acting and suddenly drop it and say, oh, that doesn't matter to me. I know what trust to do. You know what trust you're talking about when you're asking me to be truthful in this space that's really harmful and dangerous to me? I don't know. So orientation to the whole entire field of acting and vocabulary. Resuscitation is really leaning into wellness. Um, I feel like when I'm working with particularly Black actors, and you can say actors of the global majority, but particularly Black actors, I concentrate on Black actors. Um, you got to reach them first. And you hear teachers say this in general, but you got to reach them. It's like they're not all of them, but again, going back to that orientation to the vocabulary and being not able to trust people and not being able to commit in the ways that they want to. There's a wall there, different than another wall that another student might put up from a different cultural background. There's a wall there that you have to kind of break down or peek into, or help them, take the bricks off the wall. Maybe you don't. Maybe it doesn't have to be like I'm just breaking that wall down, but sometimes you do got to smash through the wall. It just depends on the different actor and their different needs. But resuscitation is exactly what it sounds like, and resuscitation happens by two ways: critical conversations and reading. Knowledge, getting knowledge, correcting all of the lies that Black people have been told about their history, about themselves, about their people, about geography, just about all of it. So resuscitation, how you do it is through critical conversation. So basically, if you walk into the studio and you see us doing the Luckett Paradigm, you're not always going to see people up in there, up and up. standing up with the script, acting like that's the only thing we do. No, you're going to see a lot of people sitting down, gathered in chairs, in conversation, building community, building, which is another word for conversation. But yeah, so resuscitation is it's what it sounds like. It's pounding on that chest to get that heartbeat, to get them to breathe again. And once you get it, and the actor comes, right, starts having those moments, those revelatory moments in rehearsals where they can start breathing again, where they feel the sustenance, where they're starting to connect to spirit, because we connect to spirit in the Luckett paradigm. We don't cut off the spiritual. That's very important. Through journaling, through prayer, through libations, through reflection, through meditation. Super, super important. So that's the resuscitation paradigm. The last one is probably the one you're more familiar with, which is just devising. And that's the name that people gave to me. You know, it's not quite improvisation, but devising includes and can include improvisation. But devising is where you're creating. So in the Luckett paradigm, we do not privilege the script. We can work with text, but we are very happy not to work with text. And not working with text might be our more comfortable zone. We don't go in and say, get out a pen and paper. We say, you know, take note. I know, you know, the director that I studied with, or the director that I observed, I should say observed, not studied with. He would always say, take note, you know, like don't write it down, put it in your head. So that's super, super important. So you're going to do a lot of devising, a lot of creation. That comes, number one, we're actors, we're creatives. So we're creatives first, right? So you want to create. You don't want to always be stuck to a script, because what you're saying is that my words are not important. We're also, this is connected to capitalism. There are people that we deem playwrights that can only write for us, and yes, they are the writers or the record keepers, and great, kudos to them. But you're not the only person that can write a play. We can write too, and we can write monologues as well. You know, but then we taught actors. People taught actors, don't write your own monologues. Why? Some actors are great writers. Let them write their own monologues, because they don't have the context. Well, let them create the context. You just making up stuff, right? Actors are over here, writers are over here. That's connected to capitalism, right? But many actors are creatives. So you want actors to write their own material, and you want that to be their first go-to. You don't want an actor to feel like, I must go find a playwright. If they want to do that, fine, but you don't want them to feel like, I have to find a playwright to be able to create art. So that's devising always in community. So what is the Luckett Paradigm? A place, a methodology where theory and practice are guided by four overlapping, intersecting dimensions. Those dimensions are the chord, stay plugged into the source, say them with me. The C stands for co-creation, O stands for orientation, R stands for resuscitation, and D stands for dialogic devising. Click that subscribe button. Now you've had a drive-by of what the Luckett, now I'm saying Luckett, of what the Luckett Paradigm is. And I'll see you next time in the teachings of the Black Acting Method Studio. My name is Sharrell Luckett. Peace.